So behind me is a pub called The Lamb. What makes The Lamb special, and the reason we've come to see it, is because of what it has inside it. Snob screens were a huge factor of Victorian England. You see, a snob screen is a bit of glass which is a little bit like a crude two-way mirror, which would separate the two classes. So you'd have the working or lower class on one side and the upper classes or middle classes, preferably middle classes, on the other side. And the middle classes would be able to see through the light into the middle classes as they drank, but not vice versa. And this is one of the few pubs which still keeps snob screens, and it's absolutely brilliant. It's a great insight into not just our past, but the class system itself. This pub, which I absolutely love, I love the green decor outside, and you know me, I love a lantern. I absolutely love this lantern. And we are about to go in, and the manager, or one of the people that works here, has blessed us with the promise of a tour. So, cameraman with me. Come on, Al, come with me. Grab your drink.
It's interesting that this would utilise in order to propagandise the masses. Where's the door? Over here, huh?
That's it, through here. Thank you very much. And just before we start, we'll have a look at the snob screens, which is right here. And the idea was, because the bar staff would usually be working class or lower class. So the idea was you would serve the person at the bar, and then he just turns the window on your face. So there was no sort of fear of being rude, because there you go.
Order and be done with it, and that was how the way that things were. It was a case of here we are and there it is, let's get down to business. Basically, ladies and gentlemen. But the historical significance of socially enforced class system via these here panels specifically is a very interesting point that we would like to communicate to the audience as a remnant of the history of London that is both represented and remembered and preserved to a fascinatingly high and excellent standard here at the Lamb Pub.
And as I said, there's very few of these left in general, never mind in London.
A great many pubs in London having a heritage of classism and social stratification being enforced in a particular method, as you can see by
this is blatant. This is just in your face. Yeah.
These window panes here. Yeah, you cannot get more directly in your face concerning social stratification and class system being socially enforced. Social and cultural enforcement of the class system is embodied in these here window panes.
I mean, here's one right here. Here's one right here. So look. No, say that side from the cameraman. So look. Upper class. Working class. Upper class. Working class. Well, I suppose I'm allowed to walk over it nowadays, I suppose.
We will ensure to include summary bullet point briefs concerning...
There we go. Just make sure this is nice and tight, nice and close. Yeah, okay. All right, love. All right, love.
Library, I know, I was told, is where they have a lot of extra stuff, which is probably stuff that isn't part of the
I like this, to be honest.
There's a historian.
How many rude bar staff have you come across where you'd rather just not have to deal with them? Just like that. Do you know what I might do? I might ring up a carpenter, have him sort of design me this little section here, and then carry it around to different pubs. And then when they serve me, I'll just, yeah, no, it's all right, love. No, it's all right. Don't worry about it, sweet. Oh, look, there we go. No, look, there we go. Right. Hello, sir. Hello.
Pleasure again.
Oh, I know. See, we've been here before, but I messed it up with the sound. So this absolute gent is going to give me a tour. Okay. So just before we do, I'm going to turn it off and make sure my sound's working.
Cool.
And then we'll start. All right? Because we're not having that again.
So, 1720, where you are is you're sandwiched between the Roman city, being by Blackfriars, to the Tower of London, and then the medieval city that came out of sort of Saxon Covent Garden. And this was the massive, huge slum area where the Great Plague came, particularly St Giles in the Fields Church, which is nearby, which is literally renowned for like 800 years, up till now being a place for people who are incredibly poor. And so it's one of the oldest shoot kitchens, I think, still there. So this came up to sort of like fill in over by the Duke of Bedford, which is why you've got Bedford House, Duke of Bedford statue all down here. Because he inherited the land in a marriage, and that's where British Museum is, Bedford House, all of this. And so this came as that sort of wave of attempted gentrification, which didn't really work. Because it just instantly turned to slums again. But so 1720, although mostly everything in here is... There's a refurbishment about 1820, 1850 in here, which is what most of the listed things are, with a few exceptions. Now I'll walk you through some of the coolest stuff.
Yes, please.
So you've got an original gas lamp. So that's the coolest one. So that's still there. Doesn't work, thankfully, because this pub is incredibly flammable.
I was about to say, I bet.
It's a nice picture. But you can still see the lines running along from the other where one would be over
Is that
there.
there?
So you can see where the gas tap's sticking out the wall. So that would be another one over there. But this is the last one that's got the cover on the top, if you know what I mean. Apart from this, you've got these famous photos around the wall. So these are from mid-1800s from the Empire Music Hall and Theatre. So this blew up in World War II, but they used to drink here, so we ended up with it, and they never rebuilt the theatre, but it was quite famous a lot of the time. So you've got Lady Randolph Churchill, Churchill's mother, who was a looker at the time. It's my first outlet.
I agree with you, yeah.
Two future kings of England. This one, the seventh, I always get mixed up. I think it's Edward VII. Because
That is Edward VII. That's
mistress,
the grandfather to Edward VIII.
Yeah, his mistress is the Miss Langtry in the middle. So that's her there, who was a famous musical star.
He goes on to be the grandfather of the deposed king in the Second World War, which is Edward VIII. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, so he effectively most of these are just general musical stars. So with
Pan around for me,
to
camera.
show off what's going on.
Yep.
But apart from that, then you get the noticeable people who come in who are just saying they've given their patronage. Like in the middle, top there, the stoic-looking gentleman there is Tsar Nicholas II.
So it is Tsar Nikolai. No, these are
just
images.
the
These are images. These are
Then you go
images.
to the theatre, then you move along, so you've got Lord Kitchener's on the far left, you've got young Neville Chamberlain on the one to the right in the middle, and you've got a few other famous lords and ladies.
Let me point out young Chamberlain. Hang on. Young Chamberlain. Where is he? Which one's young Chamberlain? Oh, there he is. Chamberlain. Sorry to interrupt you. Really sorry. There's Chamberlain there. Right. Yeah. Thank you.
And then you've got actually one of the performances from the theatre on the top.
Oh, so you do? I can't imagine what...
So you've done the snob screens already?
We have, but if you have anything extra to tell us, because I remember you telling me about the centrepiece.
Yes, so I found something new out since you last came out. So you've got the old hatch here.
Yeah.
So this was divided down the middle, so then you've got the rich and poor section.
Yeah.
There's the gap over there where there's another one, but...
So was the rich here?
That's my understanding this side. That's why I've still got the end of that one.
Yeah.
And then you've got one more.
Hello, can I please have a pint of winter water?
We only realised this because we started moving things around. There's the third one, so this is all 200 years old, this entire bar. But they've obviously sealed elements of it off, so you've got an old one hatch there that's been filled in as well.
Oh.
So that's literally the latest one to find out. Apart from this, you've got more photos around here. These are sort of later, so this is 20s and 30s. You've got Maple Love in the middle over there, who's sort of posing with her hands behind her head. She faked her own death to increase her notoriety. There is the Good Witch from the Wizard of Oz 1939 film up here somewhere. Trying to figure out where she is. I think she's that lady.
So this is all wartime.
So this is just before the war. So this is like
Oh,
those were the oldest ones. These are then the next ones, and then obviously the theatre blew up in the 40s, so early 40s. So
Right,
there's
gotcha.
nothing left. Apart from that, the most listed things apart from the walls, obviously the snob screens.
Yeah.
Weirdly, the urinals. No idea why.
We're going to
They're-
go look at the urinals soon.
They are. Smell 200
It
years
is
old.
what it
that's
is.
And then this is the coolest bit of kit.
Now, Al, come over here. You're going to want to see this. Right, cameraman,
I saw
come
this
come
from
around
the
here for
video
me.
that was created last time. I
Yeah.
was fascinated by it.
It is
Called
fascinating. Yeah.
Polyphon. I'll take it apart.
Al,
now.
I tell you what, Al.
What's the
You
name
get
of
there.
it? Pardon, sir?
You get there.
Polyphon. Polyphon. We guess.
Greek synthetics, by the way. Poly means many, and phony means sound. Many sounds is the
Oh,
Greek
really?
etymology. Yes, the Greek etymology of the name polyphone means many sounds. So out of this come many sounds is the Greek etymology for the word polyphone. Enjoy, ladies and gentlemen. A relic from the prior centuries.
And then this is one of the discs. So if you've seen the ballerina box style, for anyone who doesn't
It's
know what it is,
serrated, is it?
you see on the back. So it's just a giant ballerina box with the needles, which I'll show you in a second, that
Right.
flip on the end. If you've got a light, this might be the time to use it. It's quite dark.
Is this replicable via 3D, sir? Just out of
Yes.
general
You
curiosity. Is
can,
it?
some of them. My brother's threatened to make me one. I asked him and he said he'd make me Toto Africa. But it takes a great deal of effort, I might add.
I see.
So this has been in the pub for as long as collective memory. Collective memory puts it to the 40s, but it was over there. Drunk people fiddle with it, and just leave it alone. So you pop this off. It's held under tension. There's the device in the back if you want to have a peer in, but you might want to
see.
light. So you can see where.
Is it Is it all
Yeah.
mechanical, sir?
Yeah. So you see the bit on the bottom. When the tension's built, so you crank this up, which I'll do in a minute. Sets off the clockwork here, and then it spins this around, which then feeds off the rim. And then on the back, you've got each individual of the notes.
Do you know the inventor of this?
No
by
idea.
chance?
Did you say it was Russian last time?
No, this is the Russian. It's the
Got
Russian track. It's a
very
rather bleak Russian track called the
Is it a
Gypsy March.
valse?
It's not. It's you will. You tell me. Ooh,
Very good.
Sorry, 1 second.
Alex will like it. He's as old-fashioned as you get.
I've got to. So put you away. But we have got about 50 of these discs in here, so we just
Really?
change it periodically whenever we get bored.
Would you be able to produce a soundtrack of them, perchance?
I don't think they're going to take off, Al. When you hear it, it's not about to turn up in any house tracks.
Yeah, not yet.
I don't mind about it being in house tracks, but if it's something that I've not listened to prior, it's intriguing to
Just
me.
wait and see. Just
So
wait and
we've
see.
got a
Certainly.
coin slot on the back, then you've got the box down at the bottom, which you just fill it up with, which something's in there, which I don't know what the fuck's going on. And then you just put this crank on, for some idiot like me.
Come over here, cameraman. Get over there. He's cranking it up. This is old school. Oh wow.
And then off it goes for indeterminate length of time.
It's got nice. Is that glass?
Yeah, I don't know if that's an addition or not.
Now, the last time I was here, I asked him, "Do you get many people coming in to buy this?" And you said no. But I imagine if an antique collector walked in here, he'd be beside himself looking around.
Oh, you'd assume so. I've seen one newer version of this on sale where it kind of worked. That was for 20 grand with no discs.
Really?
And that was just, again, similar thing, but like, I think in like 1940s, 50s replica of this. So you're thinking at this sort of late 1800s, early 1900s. You can see the logic though, how the keys work and how it would influence vinyl going onto it.
Yeah.
It's fully mechanical, isn't it?
Yeah,
Which
well,
is
if you've got a
incredible.
light, you'll see there's the spinning metronome sort of thing that keeps it going
Let me get
down
my
there.
light out.
There's a metronome as well in the mechanical gears in the
think
back,
so.
sir.
You'll see it just there. I don't know if it's a metronome, but you'll have a look once you see on the right. So there's the crank coming in, which turns this bad boy, which then sets these fellas off.
What a beautiful thing to own.
Quite spooky.
It is.
It
It
goes
would
off
be-
because as it's unattended and the floorboards are
It
the
would
creaks and it will
genuinely
just go
be
off.
You're
difficult.
joking.
It would genuinely be difficult or impossible to replicate something of this form and heritage and worth in the current modern age.
That's a cool bit of kit.
It's gorgeous, sir, and I'm very glad that it's stored here safely.
And working.
Yes.
But that's the thing, most people don't, because it's here, because obviously they've drilled that into it at some point just to try and put a light in it because it's quite dingy. And then it's just sort of people just ignore it because obviously unless you crank it up, no one knows what it is. And then when people are interested, I'll walk them through it.
What was the specific name of the mechanical disc machine? Pardon, polyphone.
Polyphon. P-O-L-Y-P-O-H-N.
I see.
And then, as you can see, the problem with long-term use starts to bend the discs, and then they do get occasionally trapped because unless they're completely pushed back, they won't quite get the needle. So a few of these have been warped enough that then you can't use them anymore.
Now, before we move round to the other side, can you give a rundown
Yeah.
just on these windows?
Yeah, sure. So again, privacy windows.
Yep.
Because the whole point is that
Sorry,
if you're
boys.
looking in them from certain angles with the embossed ones, you can see through them. From certain sides, you can't. It's what the Snob screen's gone. But this will at least give you an insight into what quite a lot of the pub used to be like when you've got the sections. I think a lot of it was more curtain divided. And then we found those two upstairs, the sherry glass and the old ginger wine thing in an abandoned room that we've sort of cleared out. But this is we call this the snug. But obviously, the private room you'd have curtain rails here, and I've been told that from the sides there, at least in the sort of 80s, there used to be heavy curtains that could divide the bar as well.
I can imagine.
To fill in for the sort of inherited from the wooden screens that assumedly used to be here as well.
Okay, that's wonderful. I mean, we're going to go look at the grade. Is it grade 2 listed?
Grade 2 listed urinals. Why? No idea.
Right. Well,
That's a pleasure, Eddie. How about it?
Okay. Thank you.
No problem at all. It's a
You're an
pleasure.
absolute legend. Honestly, you've made this so special for us.
Thank you very much for the tour, sir. Much appreciated.
Been given the best tour we could possibly ask for of this beautiful pub. So why don't we go now? As I said in a previous episode, it's not common for us to have toilet features, but if there's a grade 2 listed urinal, I suppose
We may as well have a
we'd
gander
better have a
since we're here.
look at the
Aye,
loo,
I
wouldn't we?
agree.
All right, okay, so come with me. Through here. So this is I know that there's a pub round the corner. I think it's the Princess something or other. And that actually does have some really impressive urinals. Okay, here we go. Grade 2 listed urinals. All right, this isn't us being weird. You heard him say it. Okay, let's go. Right, okay. Come past me, cameraman. Yes, this is how abysmal and depressing men's toilets are. I'm not really seeing the grade 2 listed bit, but yeah.
It's probably the fleur-de-lis pattern on the wall.
It
over
must
there,
be.
sir.
It must be, but
It's the fleur-de-lis pattern likely on the wall, sir.
well, anyway, now we're all stood around in the urinal looking at a puddle of wee. So anyway, let's get out the toilet. It wasn't the most impressive grade 2 listed item I've ever seen in my career, but there you go. Anyway, now we're going to go check out the pub garden. When we walk into the pub garden, you're going to think, what's wrong with In and Out? Why are there drinks scattered everywhere? No, there's more people with us, you just can't see them. So we're not complete and utter piss artists that are drinking it through our ear holes and our eyes, okay? Just take our word for it. Anyway, I love this garden, and the one thing that bothers me about it isn't the garden itself, it's the same thing that bothered me in episode 3 when I did The Blind Beggar, which is the new builds which destroy the old characteristics. So follow me just outside. So first of all, without making it all about new builds, appreciate this for what it is. Okay, this lovely, that's what I mean, there's drinks everywhere, there's drinks here. Here's Alex sitting here, you know,
Aye.
can't even be bothered to stand up, scumbag, okay, right? But what really bothers me about this garden is it's a beautiful garden, so therefore it shouldn't be wrecked by modernist filth like this. Now this wonderful, come over here, cameraman, because you can see this Victorian structure attached to this pub, which is beautiful. Great. And then come back over here and look at this disgusting, revolting new build. Now, once again, as I said before, it's not my usual style to smoke when I am making documentaries, but this isn't a usual series. This is the pub series. And as I conclude, I will conclude in the same way that I did in episode 3. In summarising that is something that anyone could make at any time, which is not important, not historic, there's nothing special about it, but you cannot recreate this. You cannot recreate history. History is what history is. A new build is simply what you say it is on the architectural plan or in the final product. It means absolutely nothing to us, and this means absolutely everything. Wouldn't you agree, Al?
Yes,
Stand up, Al. Have a look with me at the contrast between that and that.
So that's about it, basically. Modernism is trash and an eyesore, and things like this are very cosy and wholesome and ought to be preserved and promoted as far as I'm concerned. And if we don't, we're going to lose everything. Everything that actually matters, our history, our civilization, our culture, our heritage, all down the drain because of shit like this.
And remember, like in the intro on episode 1, we mentioned that these pubs are not just pubs. You didn't have
They're
a
an
social...
edifice of cultural heritage.
That's right.
They're not just pubs, they're an edifice of cultural heritage. So the lost and found pubs of London or England can be turned into the historical edifices of the nation of England as an alternative title, because that's what we care about presenting to you, the audience, as well as that it get remembered because of the trend of deconstructivist, be it architectural or conceptual, garbage being put out into the world. Hopefully this makes sense and you understand what we're talking about. If you don't, then there's some more reading to be done. But that can be resolved, because if you go to Stratford, you'll see how much of a shithole it's become, and also the East End of London. So if you develop a lethal acute awareness into what they're trying to...
lay off. The whole of London is a shit heap now. All right,
Yes,
stand
indeed,
down,
but
stand
if they're
down.
trying to...
All right.
Yes, but the thing is, though, there's layers. There's layers to lethal acute awareness.
He's right,
And this
to
is
be
one
honest.
of them, though.
Yeah.
Knowing that there are certain entities that want to deconstruct and take away and replace Western art, history, values, society, everything, deconstruct it, basically. The key word is they want to deconstruct it, right? And we are cultural preservers and appreciators. Hopefully all of this can be communicated to the audience and they understand what we're talking about. If they don't, they need to do a little bit more studying or have a gander at the East End of London.
You should have been a scuba diver.
Mm?
You should have been a scuba diver.
Yeah, I do have, but it's all right. I'm used to it due to narrating.
You know when you
Don't
lived in
worry,
Greece,
sir.
did you go snorkeling without the snorkel?
No, but I did go up mountains for at least 3 hours in order to get back home, if the
Right.
taxi didn't turn up.
Right, so you never went snorkeling without a snorkel?
No.
Right, okay. So anyway, the point I was making was these venues weren't just, something for people to talk about. It was the difference between them having a social life and not having a social life. And nowadays, people's social lives are all based online. They're very artificial. So it's not just this place that we love, it's the feeling and memory and culture that's being left behind.
So the next time that you want to write an essay about classism and social hierarchy being imposed in general on the public of London and England in general, or the history of classism, you can talk about the...
Snob screens.
Yes, precisely, the snob screens at this here pub. There are very few pubs in England that still have them remaining, as far as I can tell, and they are a testament to the history of classism.
There are a few in London.
England.
There's a few left in London. You can go and see them. But to conclude, what do you think? Now, I know I did this at the last pub, but to be honest, I only bring up the rating system when I'm really, really impressed. And I am going to once again give this a 10 because I am basing it on historical value, wonder, its brilliance. I'm not talking about its 6 stories with loads of bars, music and all that stuff. I'm talking about somewhere that I feel at home. If you drop this in another country and I walked into it,
It's impossible to replicate it.
yes, I would be
Yes.
at home. And that's what's so special about it. So, what's your rating?
I would give it a 9.7 rating, and it would get.
He's
extra
so hard to
grades.
please, isn't he?
It would
He's
get.
so...
It would get extra ratings.
What's it going to take for
prior.
you to give a 10?
Well, I don't know. Unknown. You're like we'll know it when we see it. But 9.7.
The
for
King's
this one,
personal
specific-
bar or something.
Yes, precisely.
Yeah,
the bar in Parliament. So
It's
was
so...
cheap. But no,
you should have
they're
been a
all-
judge on X Factor, mate. No
they're
one
all
would have won.
They're all scumbags in Parliament, sir.
Right,
I retract my prior
right,
comment.
right, okay.
But the reason why this gets 9.7 specifically is because it has a piece of history that is non-easily replicable in the present age, which is a mechanical disc polyphone. I personally am genuinely infatuated with it and have requested that the tour guide provide the MP3s, the ancient MP3s.
He's asking for music that's
Yes, I want
outdated.
Yes, I want the ancient music, sir. That is the primary function of this here visit.
Spice Girls?
As well as the bar, Britain's Lost and Living Pub series. It's an excellent addition to it, mind you. But the key note, specific point about this pub is the mechanical disc polyphone.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah,
I am
it's
infatuated
amazing.
with it, and I've been informed that there are 50 or so discs with tunes on them. I want to know what the pardon unknown tunes of the prior century were that they were listening to during pleasant times. You're not going to find this on YouTube. You're not going to find this on ancient Schubert or Wagner MP3s of unpublished orchestral files. You're only going to find that
That
kind
is
of
very
thing.
exclusive. It is.
Yes,
I'll
it
give
is,
him that. It's
it is
very exclusive, yeah.
extraordinarily exclusive. That is why it gets 9.7 out of 10, sir.
Right.
I stand by it, but it's not a wishy-washy 9.7 out of 10. It's a certain 9.7
Well,
out
now
of 10.
we end the episode saying thank you very much for watching from Alex and I and everyone at TRR.
Yes. Cheers, sir.
Ooh. To celibacy.
To what?
To celibacy.
Celibacy.
To
Why
celibacy,
celibacy,
celibacy.
matey? Are you a monk? Are you
Go on,
going to
drink
live
up.
a monastic
Drink up.
order?
He just drank the
Why are you
celibacy.
making me drink to celibacy, you fuckface?
Dickhead.
Well,
Anyway,
celibacy
see you later.
is
Go on.
prefer-